does Florida State and Clemson want any part of that league?
Well, if they have nowhere else to go,
is it really better for them to go there than just stay?
Well, the only thing that it would be better for would be if the Big 12 would offer them more money, right? Right now, the Big 12 really can't offer them more money. They can't offer them SEC type, Big 10 type money, which is $60, $70, $80 million a year. Right now, Big 12 teams get, less than 40, and they're not going to take a dilution in their shares. They already took a dilution from the new 4 teams that were added. So they'd have to find a way to find money to give Florida State and Clemson Big 10 SEC type money, which of course would be, right, they're down the road a little bit with this private equity. Is that a lane? I don't know.
Man, to walk away from what you have it would have to be substantially more money and a more exciting place. I think it would have to be. I understand these guys will go and burn every bridge for an extra nickel. But the idea that you would leave the Southeast and all of your traditions for not just a lot more money, but a situation where you're saying, hey, we're in the SEC now, man. Or we're going to play all these Big 10 schools. I don't know. I hate to say no shot because we've seen pretty much every ludicrous thing. But Pat, can you imagine how much money would it be worth to say we're no longer going to play in the ACC where we have all these traditional rivals. We're close by. Our alums are here. Yeah, it's one thing if you go to the SEC, sure. Big 10, probably not as great of a situation, but at least you're like, hey, man, Ohio State's going to show up. Michigan's going to show up. We're playing some big time football. To sit there and be like, yeah, hey, don't worry, we're not going to play in North Carolina anymore. But you can't. It's going to be awesome. We go to Waco and Utah. Does this seem even reasonable that the Big 12 could get those 2 schools? I'm sure they could get some other schools if the ACC implodes, but is this reasonable?
Right. It would be a massive failure and a real comeuppance if Clemson and Florida State took a sideways move to the Big 12. There's really only 3 options for them. And one's the SEC, which at this point does not seem likely. Things can change. The second is the Big 10. I'm not sure how likely that is, but things can change. The third one is you go it alone and wait for everything to blow up and then jump in with one of those 2. Or you just stay where you are and wait for it to blow up and jump in with one of those 2. But going to the Big 12 solves nothing. As you said, it creates more problems and more drawbacks for your fans than it certainly would add to the bottom line unless Brett Yormark can somehow reinvent the revenue stream. And that's going to be hard to do without Oklahoma and Texas. And I will say, I like having Yormark go first on this media day cycle throughout the month because he's a talker, man. He'll say stuff. He will stir the pot. He'll put stuff out there and he puts everybody else a little bit on the defensive, I think. I guarantee Jim Phillips is back there like, what? Wait a minute. Their top 3 says who? And we're not going to stop till we're number 1. And Sankey's like, oh yeah, we'll see about that. So Yormark's approach has been effective for the Big 12, I think, because he has stepped in and taken, a 10 high hand and played it like a full house. And it's helped. It's worked to a degree. The perception is the Big 12 is very aggressive. It's forward thinking. And he made some moves that I think have definitely helped the league. And, getting those schools from the Pac-12 helped. No doubt about it. But they still don't really change the hierarchy of where things are. And you do still have to find a way without Texas and Oklahoma going forward. So he is a very skilled PR guy. I think he thinks very strategically, but I just don't know exactly what they can do to change the paradigm of where things are unless the ACC fully implodes.
It is interesting to have the Big 12, go first and him to kind of set the table for other commissioners. The SEC Media Days is next week in Dallas. Where you'll have new teams, Texas and Oklahoma. A week after that, ACC and Big Ten have their media days in Charlotte and Indianapolis. So it is interesting for him to kick off things. One other way, the bottom line in this is that the Big 12 administrators as a league, presidents and athletic directors would have to probably agree to have an uneven revenue distribution model if they were to take on Clemson and Florida State, right? Because whether it's through private equity or their own networks, Fox, ESPN, whatever, giving them more money for Clemson and Florida State, they wouldn't get enough money for everybody to have a distribution of $60-70 million a year. It would just be an enticement for Clemson and Florida State, and Big 12 administrators would have to agree to be taking $10, $15, $20 million less than the new guys who join the league. And is that worth it to have power football programs added to a league that, for the most part, is probably the best basketball league in the country, but is going to have trouble football wise? I mean, there was talk yesterday from many people here, hey, we got to hope we can at least get 2 teams in the CFP. A second, can we just get an at-large team in the CFP? So that tells you where they're at football wise. There's been some struggles there. So is it worth taking an uneven distribution? If you do get the money, whether if it's private equity or from the networks or some other place, will you agree to take these football blue blood types to have more football value, but be taking $20 million less than them? And I don't know that they would do that. I don't know that they would.